On the news tonight, Vice President Kashim Shettima leads Nigeria's delegation as ECOWAS leaders meet in Abuja. Accord party faction conducts primary election as Clement Bamimbola emerges factional candidate for 2026 Osun State Governorship Election. Federal government bans admission and transfer of students into senior secondary school 3. On the foreign scene, at least 12 people killed in a mass shooting at a Jewish festival at Bondi Beach in Australia. Good evening, this is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Okoyemuni. Vice President Kashim Shettima today represented President Bola Tinubu at the 68th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. Vice President Kashim Shettima is representing Nigeria at the summit, marking the first time he has led the Nigerian delegation to an ECOWAS meeting on home soil while the president remains in the country. President Tinubu, who chaired ECOWAS from July 2023 to July 2025, before handing over to President Julius Bio of Sierra Leone, delegated Senator Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. At today's meeting, which began at 3 p.m., leaders and representatives of ECOWAS member states held a special debate on the future of the community. Items listed for consideration include the 2025 State of the Community Report, updates from the Mediation and Security Council, a report on the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, and special reports on Guinea-Bissau, the situation in Benin Republic, confirmation of a host state for the West African Health Organization headquarters, and the transition in Guinea. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaero, says the planned nationwide protest on the 17th of December remains sacrosanct. He made the statement shortly after a courtesy visit on the chairman of the 19th Northern State Governors Forum and governor of Gombe State, Inuwa Yahaya, in Gombe, the capital city of the state. Mr. Ajaero described the negative effects of insecurity on Nigeria's economy, particularly how it is turning away investors. According to the NLC president, the protest is aimed at awakening government to its responsibilities of tackling crushing economic hardships, insecurity, banditry, and other abnormalities in the country, while calling on all Nigerians to be part and parcel of ending the negative developments in Nigeria. Mr. Ajaero called for total overhauling of our value system, describing banditry and kidnap for ransom as acts that are alien to our value system as a people. He demanded that the government must end the spate of kidnappings and banditry in the country. To politics, a faction within the Accord party has conducted its own primary, resulting in the emergence of Clement Bamimbola as its candidate for the 2026 Osun State Governorship Election. This development comes just 4 days after Governor Ademola Adeleke was declared the party's flag bearer in a separate exercise. Earlier in the week, under the leadership of Maxwell Imbudem, the party had held a primary that produced Governor Adeleke, who defected from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, as a candidate. However, a segment of the party led by its ex-presidential candidate, Chris Imomolen, rejected that outcome, arguing that Mr. Imbudem is not the legally recognized national chairman of the Accord Party. In a new development today, delegates representing the Accord Party gathered in Osogbo to conduct a primary. Through a voice vote by the delegates, Mr. Bamimbola was chosen as a factional candidate for the 2026 Osun State Governorship Election. It will be recalled that the leadership of the Accord Party in Osun State earlier affirmed that Governor Adeleke was validly nominated and elected as its governorship candidate, warning expelled and disgruntled members against attempting to undermine the party's unified position ahead of the poll. Meanwhile, Osun State Chairman of Accord Party, Pastor Victor Akode, has described the purported governorship primary conducted by some persons unknown to the party as reckless misinformation and unlawful political charade. Speaking at a news conference today, Pastor Akode stated that all the actors being named in the NDA committee including one Mr. Fanibe and Clement Bambola, are not known members of the Accord Party. The Accord Party chairman said that Mr. Fanibe has been expelled from the party since 2018 for acts inimical to the unity, discipline, and progress of the party. He stated that the party is not disturbed by such crude impersonation and political mischief. He however claimed that those being supported for the affront on democracy are non-APC affiliates acting as proxies in a desperate scheme targeted at undermining the overwhelming popularity and lawful candidacy of Governor Ademola Adeleke. Pastor Akode urged the people of Osun State to ignore the distractions which he said are the handiwork of politically displaced actors who, having been repeatedly rejected by the electorate, now resort to impersonation, falsehood, and institutional sabotage in a futile bid to return to power through the back door. He added that any other individual, besides Governor Adeleke, parading himself as a candidate of Accord Party without lawful nomination commits a clear act of impersonation and electoral fraud. In the meantime, Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State has reaffirmed the full determination of Osun people to defeat the All Progressives Congress (APC) in the 2026 polls, reacting to statements credited to the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Boyega Itola, at the APC governorship primary yesterday. Governor Adeleke described the minister's hope for victory as wishful thinking and a failure to accept the deep level of unpopularity of APC among the people of Osun State. In a statement by spokesperson Olaole Rashid, the governor, who boasted of a mass movement behind his re-election bid, said the minister and the APC were embarking on anti-democratic activities instead of marketing themselves to the people and potential voters. He said the people of the state are fully satisfied with the people-oriented and responsive governance being delivered by the present administration. In Taraba State, Governor Agbu Kefas today officially registered as a member of the All Progressives Congress, formalizing his move to the ruling party. Governor Kefas was registered by the APC Hospital Ward Executive at the Government House in Jalingo, the state capital. Speaking after his registration and the presentation of his membership card, the governor said that though he had earlier announced the suspension of his official defection ceremony, originally slated for November 19, in solidarity with abducted schoolgirls, he had decided to take the necessary step to enable him to fully take charge of party activities in the state. According to him, the decision was taken in the overall interest of the party and governance in Taraba State, stressing that his alignment with the APC would help deepen cooperation and strengthen the party structure in the state. Last month, members of the State Executive Council, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Izito Benzena, alongside 14 members of the Taraba State House of Assembly, defected to the APC. The African Democratic Congress has commenced a 90-day nationwide membership mobilization, revalidation, and registration. According to a statement issued by the party's National Publicity Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, the move follows the conclusion of a National Working Committee meeting held on November 27, 2025. The ADC also unveiled provisional dates for its congresses and the election of delegates at the polling unit, ward, and local government levels. According to circulars issued by the National Secretary, Rauf Aregbesola, the congresses are scheduled to hold between January 20 and 27, 2026, culminating in the non-elective National Convention in February 2026 in Abuja. The nationwide registration and mobilization drive is expected to engage party members and supporters across all states ahead of the scheduled congresses and national convention. Talking health, the Osun State government says there are improvements in the uptake of the vaccination against human papillomavirus (HPV) in the state as part of efforts to prevent cervical cancer. Mrs. Roslyn Akinlabi, Adolescent Desk Officer, Osun Primary Health Care Board, spoke at a training for adolescents and youths as champions towards mobilizing their colleagues to take up health services. According to her, The move is part of ways to improve adolescent health in the state through sensitization. On the spot, one of the facilitators, a public health physician, Dr. Benga Debayo, said the workshop will also help to address misinformation around HPV vaccine and other health intervention.
Looking beyond, like this project, we are looking beyond HPV vaccine. That's why we call it HPV plus Niger. Saying that apart from HPV vaccine, what are other health services that adolescents and young people need? They need to be aware of their menstrual hygiene. They need to be aware of mental health. We want to stop suicide in our community. They need to know their SRA, sexual reproductive health rights. They need to be aware about life skills. What are the skills that they should have as a young people? Or they have to, what they need to know about HIV transmissions and prevention. So beyond HPV, what we are doing here today is we are looking beyond HPV, bringing every services together, integrate all services together so that we can have a complete, whole adolescent and young people.
Okay, so we are here to build a new generation of youth champions to promote the uptake of the HPV vaccine. We know that there has been a lot of misinformation and wrong things said about the HPV vaccine and vaccines in general. So we are here to train young people that can take this message forward. And this project, the HPV Plus project, is to use HPV vaccine as an entry point for comprehensive adolescent health program.
Human papillomavirus HPV is a common viral infection, often sexually transmitted, with some leading to cancers like cervical, anal, or throat cancers. While speaking during a session, the Osun State Immunization Officer, Francisca Olaore, reiterated that the infection can be prevented with vaccination. Some of the youths at the training also spoke about the impact and reiterated their readiness to be change agents.
HPV virus is real. It's a global infection, but it can be controlled through vaccination, having a jab of what? HPV. You can have it as well. It might not be at their facility, but if you go to your doctor and a good pharmacy, you will get it there. Make sure at your level now you go for cervical pap smear, that's cervical cancer test, and then it will really go a long way to save the future.
Because there's a lot boys can contribute. I, as a guy, for example, on campus, I join initiatives providing information to more people, and I'm able to reach other guys who are also able to convince their sisters, their parents, and other people. So it's something everyone should be involved in, whether you're male or female. It's our collective responsibility.
As a young advocate, I aim to continue promoting HPV vaccine by promoting awareness, sensitization through social media, WhatsApp, Instagram, and TikTok in general, and also include my other young volunteers.
In the meantime, as part of moves to mobilize young people to take up health services, Osun State government officials and developmental partners led adolescents who were earlier trained as champions on an outreach. According to Mrs. Roslyn Akilabi, adolescent desk officer, Osun Primary Health Care Board, the outreach was taken to schools and communities across some local governments in the state. The team visited Oshobo, Ife North, Ife South, Eden North, and Eden South local government areas to promote the importance of taking advantage of health services and intervention. Community stakeholders have been urged to do more in advancing primary health care in Osun State. This was stated during a citizens' town hall meeting on strengthening primary health services in Osun State, which was organized by the Osun State Primary Health Care Development Board in collaboration with the National Primary Health Care Development Agency. Citizens Engagement Consultant for the Center for Communication and Social Impact, Dr. Luatoyin Afachong, stressed the importance of community ownership through peer mobilization, support for local initiatives, and the building of long-term trust. On the spot, Executive Secretary of the Osun State Primary Health Care Development Board, Dr. Shino Igbalaye, commended Governor Ademola Adeleke for creating an enabling environment that supports quality healthcare delivery across the state. Represented by the Director of Health Planning and Research, Dr. Lukman Adeleke, he noted that all focal primary health care centers across the state had been renovated and equipped with essential amenities to enhance service delivery. The event brought together nursing mothers, pregnant women, caregivers, market women, religious and community leaders, traditional rulers, and health experts to deliberate on improving healthcare facilities and service delivery across the state.
To come and talk about the reforms at the primary health care level. What are those changes? What are the progress we have made concerning PACs, primary care, the services, personnel, looking at antenatal care, looking at family planning services, looking at immunization and infant health. So we are looking at all of these program areas and what changes are being made. And if there are gaps, challenges, that still need to be addressed. So we are all coming together as citizens who utilize primary care services to come up with our observations based on what we have seen and what recommendations are we going to be made.
And we have the 32 ward and each ward have a local facility that has been built, innovated, upgraded, and can work for 24 hours to render health services for our people. So that is for state government. Not only they were innovated 24 hours water supply, 24 hours electricity supply, and they increased.
The federal government says it has made transformative investments to strengthen the oxygen ecosystem of the country under the Global Fund grant being coordinated by the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA. These interventions, according to the federal government, has significantly enhanced the nation's ability to respond to medical oxygen and respiratory care and other critical medical emergencies. The Director General, National Agency for the Control of AIDS, Dr. Temitope Ilori, made a disclosure in Osogbo, Osun State capital, during the inauguration of a Global Fund-supported oxygen and other health products donated to the state. According to her, 12 liquid oxygen tanks of 10,000 liters each were procured and installed for the storage of medical-grade liquid oxygen in selected hospitals across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. Dr. Ilori said Osun State has received one of the most comprehensive oxygen system investments in the southwest zone, with strengthened infrastructure at the OAUTH, the State Hospital Management Board, and expanded medical-grade oxygen production capacity at Ashubiaro and Iwo. Speaking of the agency's efforts on HIV/AIDS, Dr. Ilori said about 2 million Nigerians are living with the disease in Nigeria, and about 1.7 million of them are on treatment, receiving drugs at government hospitals free of charge across the country, while testing are ongoing across the nation.
Under the leadership of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria has successful for some form grants from the Global Fund, and one of such grants is domiciled in the National Agency for the Control of AIDS. It is health system strengthening, grants to ensure that we strengthen our health system. And part of what we feel was very important is oxygen. Oxygen is life. And we feel that we should have oxygen plants where oxygen can be generated, and then we made this available across the 6 states of the Federation. Osun State is the beneficiary of that. We have an oxygen plant here in Ashubiaro and also in the State Hospital Iwo. And we also donated some other health medical commodities like oxygen cylinders, like pulse oximeter, like X-ray machine, and so many others, to this Hospital Management Board, even to the Federal University of Health Sciences, Bilarobo, and all other, health facilities across the state. So we believe that this is a bid to ensure that, nobody lacks oxygen, especially in emergency cases, in respiratory disorders, for neonatal cases, for accidents and emergency, and even for those admitted on the ward. This oxygen will be provided. It will be bottled in the oxygen cylinders and to provide for them at a very subsidized rate. And we also have a turnaround management, to ensure that we have a 5-year warranty on the plant, and we also have trained some biomedical engineers, locally here in the state, and across the Federation to ensure that this plant is maintained and kept in order to continue to serve humanity.
Moving on, the federal government has announced a nationwide prohibition on the admission and transfer of students into senior secondary school 3 in all public and private secondary schools. The government said the directive followed growing concerns over the increasing incidence of examination malpractice, including the use of so-called special centers during external examinations, which undermine the integrity and credibility of Nigeria's education system. In a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations, Federal Ministry of Education, Borio Folashade, the government said the policy will take effect from the 2026-2027 academic calendar, with admissions and transfers now restricted strictly to Senior Secondary School 1 and Senior Secondary School 2. It added that admission or transfer into SS3 will no longer be permitted under any circumstances. Tragedy struck in the Ikorodu area of Lagos on Sunday when an 8-month-old baby and a lady died in an auto crash. Narrating how the accident happened, the Lagos State Traffic Management Agency said a commercial bus driving at an excessive and perilous velocity from Palm Grove inward Anthony suddenly lost mechanical and directional control. The agency said the bus veered off its lane, crossed the median, and entered the opposing carriageway. There, it collided with a moving Volkswagen car carrying passengers from Anthony towards the Palm Grove area of Lagos. Officials of the agency immediately swung into action alongside some members of the public, leading to the rescue of 10 persons from the mangled wreckage with varying degrees of injury. Still to come, Serap asks Attorney General of the Federation to enforce judgment on alleged misappropriation of 6 trillion naira. We'll bring you more on this when we return.